Much for joining us. We're going to let everyone settle in for a few more seconds and then we'll get started. We have a lot to go over. I know this has been kind of a crazy couple of weeks with people celebrating March Madness, Easter, Passover. So hopefully everyone can have a few relaxing weeks before the summer starts and all the other craziness. But we're really happy for you to join us this afternoon. We have a lot to cover. I would love to hear if quick show of hands, if we have any A+ investors or AAII Platinum subscribers with us today. And if so, if you had a chance to check out the Investor Hub and all of the new features that has come with it. If you want to share in the question section of your GoToWebinar panel, we'd love to hear. And then even if you're not an A+ or Platinum user, we'd still love to hear where you're tuning in from. John and I, as you may well know, are joining from the Chicagoland area and are enjoying, some beautiful spring weather this week. We have some 70s, 80s even on the horizon. So we're looking forward to that. So we appreciate everyone joining us. And feel free to use the question section of your GoToWebinar control panel, which should be located on the right-hand side of your screen. All right. Well, as everyone's kind of commenting and sharing where they're from, if they're a user, if they've had a chance to check out the new features, I do want to officially say hello and welcome to this afternoon's webinar, The New Way to Track and Analyze Investments, led by John Bajkowski. Thank you so much for joining us. We're happy to have you all here. So my name is Jennifer Shear, and I will be your host for today. We appreciate you joining us as we highlight some of the AAII's biggest upgrades yet, direct brokerage integration, custom data views, improved stock screens. These are all features that members have been asking for through our annual member survey and other surveys that we send out throughout the year. So we're especially excited to be able to unveil those today. But before we begin, there are a few things I'd like to go over. So I want to remind all of our webinar viewers that AAII is a nonprofit educational group and is not a financial advisor and thus is not able to give personal advice. If you want to view our full disclaimer, please visit aai.com/privacy/disclaimer. And then please keep an eye on your chat section throughout the webinar as I'll be sharing some helpful resources and links that pertain to the content of today's event. Anything that I can direct you on the Investor Hub, I'll put in the chat section. So keep an eye for that. And then if you have any questions for our speaker during the presentation, please submit them using the questions section of your GoToWebinar control panel. And then once our presentation concludes, I'll select a few for John to answer. And if your question isn't selected during the broadcast, you can feel free to email us at members@aaii.com. And just as a reminder, our presenter's slide deck is available under the materials section of your GoToWebinar control panel, which is also located on the right-hand side of your screen. You may remember that the old version of GoToWebinar had a handout section. Now that has been renamed as materials. So just for future reference. And please visit the GoToWebinar website for support at gotowebinar.com if you experience any issues with the audio or video anytime during the webinar. And just as a reminder, because we get a lot of questions right off the bat, this presentation is being recorded and a replay of the webinar will be available on our YouTube channel and on our website at aai.com/webinars. And then just a few things to get people excited. In this webinar, John will cover a few things like what new features have been added to my portfolio, including the thinking and thoughts behind these updates and why we're moving on from the previous version, how to access AAII's 50+ pre-built stock screens and explore the expanded data now available, how to use the new brokerage integration to view AA plus stock grades for each of your holdings, and then how to access new data points and customize your portfolio view based on your investing preferences. And we know that's a lot of information to digest. I threw a lot at you, so I will put all that into the chat momentarily so you can easily access. But with that, we have a lot to cover and demo for you all today, so I'll hand it over to John to kick us off.
Well, thank you so much, Jennifer, and welcome to our presentation today. And as Jennifer noted, our goal today is to cover some of the changes we've made to our AAII Investor Hub over this past quarter. Back in January, Jennifer and I also did a webinar kind of introducing the overall features of the hub. So that's a good resource if you want to get kind of a overview of what it does, how to access it, and whatnot. My goal today will be more of a live demonstration of some of these new capabilities, why you might find them of interest and whatnot. But when we always send out a kind of a follow-up email for anyone who registered or was interested in this, and we'll be sure to include a link to the webinar from back in January. So yeah, it's well, welcome. I mean, it's fun to be discussing many of these changes. Our developers have been listening to you and have been trying to enhance the kind of the way you get access to the information that you track and how best to analyze it to make useful investment decisions. And that's sort of been the goal with the hub. And one of the reasons we were calling it a hub, and we've been, I guess, peeling off bits of information and features from our main website as part of it is it runs in a very secure, fast fashion. So I think anybody who's been using the hub will recognize how quickly pages load, how quickly it is to get information about stocks, looking at the stock screens, going and looking at past information. So our goal is just to kind of keep adding on capabilities that you have as a member and through your entitlements to have additional resource capabilities so you can make more intelligent investment decisions. So my goal today, I'm going to try to cover three primary changes or enhancements. One is the ability to pull in a linking of your current holdings in a broker. The other one is how do you look at the information once you have it in a portfolio view? What kind of information can you do now to customize how you examine that information? And then our last major section will be talking about the AI stock screens. We've basically have moved off the display of information on our main site and pushed it over to the hub area. And we've pulled in some new ways to analyze the AI stock screens as far as their performance, characteristics, risk, reward, and as well as how to look at the companies that are currently passing those particular stocks and screens as far as that's concerned. So with that, I mean, the main way one gets to the hub would be, just about any time you are in our main website, any tool that points to the portfolio or screens basically should now take you to the AI hub. But there's also direct link as well, typically in these menu areas. Once you log in, you are presented with a basic view. And again, if you haven't used the hub in a while, you may see that this has been refreshed a little bit as far as its views. And excuse me, I don't know why I tend to talk with my hands. Even though I'm doing a webinar and I have a camera in front of me, I tend to talk with my hands. So if you see my hands get in the way, I'm sorry about that. I apologize in advance. But the notion here is again to kind of quickly provide some key information on what the market's doing today, how certain portfolios that you perhaps have favorited, how they're performing, any kind of big stocks that are moving, any kind of screens, how they're performing, articles perhaps that are of interest or note, things you've saved, and whatnot. So the main hub is sort of an area to kind of go ahead and just get a quick snapshot of how this interacts. Now, a couple things to note when it comes to interacting with the hub. I mean, if you like most modern Windows, I mean, if you want to hide the side navigation, if you wanted to have more room saved for your screen, you can go ahead and click that little arrow next to hide it. Certain things are drop downs so that if you wanted to have a direct access to your portfolios that you saved, you can click the down arrow and quickly go to those portfolios. And that's true of screens as well. Anytime you see a plus or like a little caret up or down, that's the way to expand or view this information. So the key, I guess, consideration as far as what I want to talk about right now is how one goes ahead and actually creates portfolios. And that's been one of the main changes we've made to the area. Now, what we did is we recognized that security is an important capability, but we also wanted to make it as easy as possible to look at your holdings in your portfolio and do some further analysis of it and tracking of it. So we partnered up with a third party called Plaid. Plaid's a well-known, well-respected integrator of financial information. So when you link a portfolio with us, we're not storing your login information, nor is Plaid. We're simply storing, we're connecting you out to Plaid. You're using a token to identify yourself as a unique Plaid user, who you are. We're keeping track of that information. Plaid then sends you out to your broker to do the sign-in. So no one is saving your sign-in credentials and whatnot. We're not asking for write privileges to your information. We're simply asking for the ability to go ahead and pull that information that you have in there. So all we're doing is trying to capture which stocks, funds, mutual funds you own, and how many shares you have and what their original cost basis was. With that information, we can calculate basic things like your returns since purchase, and you could then further do analytics on those holdings. In the handout, I just did a quick example of how one would go ahead and do that. So basically, when it comes to adding a portfolio, anytime you want to add an additional portfolio, and portfolios can be either created through manual entry, in a sense of you can go ahead and create a new portfolio and start typing in ticker symbols, put in the lots, how many shares you bought at what price. You could import if you want to go ahead and create a comma separated value in Excel, a list of tickers. I often do that. I sometimes I'll run an analysis. I'll want to create perhaps a quick list of all the dividend aristocrats, or I want to take a look at all the stocks that are in the S&P 500 and actually do an analysis of those stocks. I've actually imported these lists through this process. I actually point to a comma separated value. I import that list. I'm then able to do analytics on those companies that pass. And that would be true of mutual funds and ETFs as well. And the third option we've done now is add the ability to actually link with a broker. And I'm not going to go through this process online. I have some screenshots in our handout, but basically, you would have to go ahead and identify who you are, securely log in with your broker, and then import that information. Once that information is logged in, it then shows up as one of your portfolios. In this case, we tend to segment them. We have the portfolios that are brokerage linked towards the top. These are portfolios that are manually managed by you. And when it comes time, daily, you might want to, if you've made any changes, again, we don't write anything to your brokerage, but let's say you've made a transaction in your brokerage, you want to reflect the current information, and you would go ahead and do a sync of that information. It would go ahead and go out, pull the current information, and then update that and pull in the most current holdings that are part of that portfolio. And once you have that information, this happens to be a list of this is the live model shadow stock portfolio that we use to illustrate the performance of the portfolio. You could then go ahead and start analyzing that information. So in this context, I could look at a series of views that we have saved. So we have a series of saved views that are available to people that are just here. Grades, you can look at the grades if you're an A+ investor, see if these are, and as expected, most of these are relatively well regarded stocks as far as grades. You could do a diversification analysis. In this case, it's going to be all stocks. It's going to be on the small cap side to be expected, and you get even a style breakdown of what sectors there happen to be in the portfolio. And they're all domestic as well, because shadow stocks invests in micro cap small stocks, and there should be no financials in here, which makes sense. Okay, so this is kind of classic analysis you can do of the portfolio. Now, one of the things beyond the standard views that you have in here is that when it comes to looking at the holdings, is that you have the ability to actually drop down and take a look at, you could switch to your portfolios through this process as well. If you are in this view area here, we have the standard views. Now, if you are an A+ subscriber or a platinum subscriber, or if you're a member, you could actually take a look and click under views. You can go ahead and select the views that are sort of unique to each portfolio. So you got to get a sense for the kind of information that is available to those particular portfolios. But one of the more interesting things that we've really done recently is with understanding that there are people that I'm like that. I mean, I don't necessarily know if you're a value investor what characters you want to look at when it comes to evaluating a stock or what you have in your holdings, but perhaps you want to go ahead and create a custom view. So perhaps you want to say, you have an interest in something. So I'm going to take a look. I'm going to go to my portfolio list here. And again, portfolios can be selected from the drop down here. Also, you can go ahead and select portfolios from the section here on the side. And let's say this happens to be, if you're following along with us, we're running a stock madness competition where we took the 16 stocks that are most widely held by our members in the portfolio, and we created a stock bracket. And every week we're seeing which company happens to be outperforming the other. Relatively short term, but it's kind of fun to do some analysis on that. These were the stocks that were originally part of that stock bracket, but I wanted to perhaps when I was building my bracket, I wanted to do some analysis on what those characteristics of those companies were. So I went ahead and actually created in that, I wanted to go ahead and see what does that information look like, and what kind of views are available to me. So I went to the custom views area and I created a custom view. I called it Stock Madness. I put together a mix of information in those views. So I go, well, I'm kind of curious about how the price is going. And what's unique about these custom views is I'm able to basically pull in information across multiple forms of information. So I'm able to look at price information, multiples, growth rates, and whatnot. So this is, and I'm able to go ahead and I could perhaps I want to, when I'm looking at it temporarily, I might say, well, I don't really want to look at the number of shares right now. I don't really care about the ROE at the moment. I can go ahead and just remove those temporarily from displaying. Perhaps I want some more space to view this information. I might want to go ahead and hide that side panel. Might want to make a compact view, which kind of narrows everything down. Furthermore, I might want to go ahead and actually go to a full screen view, which allows me to quickly scan through all these columns of information. And while here, I can go ahead and sort. So I can see, okay, which ones have the best recent price momentum? Okay, in the last 13 weeks, ExxonMobil has been the best momentum. But perhaps I want to change this view. All of a sudden, you know what? I'm kind of curious about the relative strength, perhaps over the last 4 weeks. How meaningful is that number? I can either go ahead and either go to the, I could click on the little pencil next to a view here, and I'm now brought up to our custom view builder. And this helps to, right now, it's all focused on stock information, but our developers are actually integrating Morningstar information as well, things like operating information, returns, and whatnot. So shortly, we'll be launching the custom view builder will also include mutual fund and ETF information as well for your analysis. But in this case, this is my view here along the side. This is the information I built and the order that it's in. But let's say I want to add in, I'm kind of curious, last 4 weeks, perhaps what the price information has been. So I might go to price and share statistics. I'm going to click on price change 4 week. So once you click on a field, it gets added to the bottom here. I'm going to drag this up to the top here. So now I have a 4 week, 13 week. And I'm also kind of curious to see how does that perhaps compare against the S&P 500. So I'm going to do a relative strength 4 week. And the thing to note here is that the kind of information that's available here. So we've tried to categorize it, financial data, cash flow, balance sheet, income statement, basic company information that's available, earnings estimates. Have they, what are the estimates currently? Have they made surprises, revisions, multiples? How does the company compare against itself, against others? We're able to do comparisons against industries, sectors, and even percentage ranks. So I'm kind of curious to see how that relative strength compares against all companies over the last 4 weeks. So I'm going to go down to relative strength 4 week. So I'm going to save this, or update this view now. So it's fun doing live demonstrations. Hopefully everything works as expected. And sure enough, so now I've added in some recent price information on these 16 stocks. So if I just simply sort it by price change over the last 4 weeks, we see that JP Morgan Chase has actually had the biggest price change over the last 4 weeks. And that actually has outperformed the S&P 500. I guess S&P must be close to zero over that. It's slightly outperformed the S&P 500 over that time frame. Zero would be, one would be equal. The relative strength, that is outperforming 76% of all companies over that time frame. So if you look at something around the 50th percentile, like this case, Chevron is in that midpoint. Half the companies in our universe have outperformed Chevron, half have underperformed Chevron over the last 52 weeks. But the point here is that you can go ahead and create really very detailed views of the columns you want in the order you want, and you could continually apply that to your portfolios. And you could then go ahead and actually export that as well into an Excel file. So you could, I think to me, it really opens my eyes and allows me to put together in a very compact area a lot of information that I find useful. So if you're a value investor, you can put in all your value metrics. You could put in your growth metrics if you're a growth investor. So whatever it is that interests you, you can go ahead and put that in. So to me, it's one of the more interesting additions we've made, and a very powerful addition. And it's all part of the process of trying to make the portfolio views a integral part of one's investors analysis. And so look for things such as the ability to add in mutual fund and ETF comparison information as well. Our first round is basically focusing in on adding in stock data, adding in mutual fund data. But I think to me that this is one of the things that really kind of pops as far as making that kind of information very accessible and useful. But on top of the custom views, to the extent if you are a subscriber to these individual products, Platinum or Plus, you can also go ahead and pull in the kinds of data that's unique to those particular portfolios for analysis purposes. Like in the case here, the growth investing portfolio, I can go ahead and pull in the growth grade, the scores, the G-score information and whatnot. So this is stuff that will be helpful to me to analyze the data that those particular model portfolios use. So those are, I think, also additional capabilities that are helpful to our subscriber base. So I talking about some of the broker features, some of the columns of information, the custom views. Before I finish up on this section, I know, Jenna, have you been watching for questions? Are there any questions that I might have gone too fast on or have confused our members with?
I'm looking through right now. Let's see. Got a lot of questions coming in, but I want to leave some of those for the end. Let's see. You know what? I think you can keep going, and I'll compile and I'll give you questions once we get to the next section.
Okay, very good. So
Thanks,
yeah,
Joe.
again, thank you. So this is the handout that I've created walks you through a lot of these features one by one. And to the extent also, I'm going to go ahead and there we go. To the extent that we've also kind of tried to enhance some background, we tried to create reports or help areas. So if you go back to the main menu and you go under help and support, we've created and we're always going to be, as we're adding in features, we're going to update these, but we've added in a guide on how to use the portfolio, as well as the guide on our AI stock screens. So we tried to make that information available for you as far as that's concerned. There's one more feature that we didn't quite make it out for our demonstration today, but it is coming in shortly, is that to the extent that if you subscribe to any of these model portfolios, but everybody is a subscriber as a member, gets access to the model shadow stock portfolio. But we're going to also add in a third category of portfolios that are available to view, and those are the AI model portfolios. So if I want to, I can go ahead and under the area under these model portfolios section, I can go ahead and in this case, I have the shadow stocks selected. These are all the current shadow stocks. I could also go ahead and select the current ideas that are passing. And so going forward, if you want to, you could look at the current holdings, the current ideas. We'll be doing a SSR review tomorrow. So let me take a look at the stock superstars report. These are the current holdings of the stock superstars. This is all the groups combined. So it's the largest portfolio, probably taking a little bit of time to load. But I can go ahead and view those holdings, take a look at the ideas that are passing each of those holdings as well. So to me, this is kind of a fun area now. We're allowing you to now I could take a look at the model shadow stocks as an example, and go ahead and apply a custom view. So this is my shadow stock portfolio, and I can go ahead and change now. Go ahead and pick a different view to look at it as well, or download it through Excel. So to me, it's an interesting way to kind of go ahead and modify and look at our model portfolio holdings. So that's a feature that should be launching shortly. Anytime, and I guess we have to, I was looking at it today. We have also in this area kind of a roadmap. These are our primary goals for the past quarter. Having in the brokerage connect with Plaid, the custom view builder, and not also adding in, we enhanced our stock ideas, stock screen section. So we're going to keep building on. I'm going to ask the developers to kind of update this. We've had a meeting last week as far as our focus for the upcoming quarter. So we're going to go ahead and give you a better understanding of some of the personalization, some of the features that are coming in. So our future development area is being displayed there. But I think it might be helpful. Interesting. Go ahead and log in. Is the roadmap. Actually, strike that. Sorry. The what's new section, my apologies. Anytime we launch a change to the hub area, we kind of try to summarize what's been changed, what's added. So this is kind of another way to kind of get a sense for any kind of bugs we fixed, enhancements in our timeline. So this gives you a sense of the kind of changes we've made. And the one area we've really made a lot of changes in as well is trying to enhance the AI stock screens and the display of information, the access of information that you have to them. Our stock screens, we have 50 or so different stock strategies we've been tracking over time. And we've been analyzing historical performance, getting a sense for how they act in different market environments, how they screen, how they look. And interesting, taking a little while to load here today. The key points, I guess, that we wanted to really do or make available to us when it came to our AI stock screens is provide in one area all of the analytics that are available there as far as performance information, risk information, being able to sort, being able to look at the companies that are passing a given screen. So what we've done in that context is try to move it off of our main site and give you the option of looking at that in a way that kind of makes sense as far as being able to scan and view and sort information. On the main area and the main site and the main stock screens area under all screens, what you see there is a list of all of our screens. And by default, they come in with a performance alphabetical. You can go ahead and either look at all the screens that are there. You can go ahead and I'm going to see if I can make this larger. While I'm doing this, Jenna, any questions while I go ahead and?
Yeah, let's see. Got a couple questions coming in. I think a lot of people have been asking, about the brokerage specifically. We have Schwab, Vanguard, a lot of ability. Pretty much any brokerage you can connect to. Do we have are we planning on allowing people to connect to Fidelity?
Yeah, that's a very good question. The challenge we've had is that uh, Plaid is a well-known integrator, um, but Schwab, I'm sorry, strike that. Fidelity uh, developed their own integration tool, and it doesn't necessarily work that well with third-party tools such as Plaid. So at the moment, we don't have that capability. It is something that I know our developers have been talking about, but I don't have a specific timeline for when that might be available to us.
Excellent. And we have a lot of people asking, when will you be able to see ETFs and mutual funds, in the My Portfolio? But I believe you can already, there is some functionality already.
They are available in there, and I'm sorry, I'm having trouble trying to get this to display in full screen on this particular display. Try closing that. And so, I mean, right now, I mean, if you go into the My Portfolio area, um, you can see your portfolio holdings. You can see the basic information about them as far as your gains and losses. But we are now working on creating the custom views, which will also then display information such as rate of return, price returns, NAV returns, expense ratios, any of that kind of stuff. That's probably and I hate to speak, I haven't talked to our developer, Robert, about that beforehand. Um, it's the framework is in place. I'm guessing in this coming quarter, I'll say in the second quarter, that should be something that will be out. It might even be out mid, sometime earlier than that, but that is something that we're actually working on as far as getting out there right now.
And then another question kind of similarly is that, will we be able to, or will investors be able to look at like bonds? And I know that's something that we have
Oh, I see.
recently, yeah, kind of addressed as
No,
well.
unfortunately, we don't have, when it comes to our stock data,
Mhm.
we have a relationship with S&P, so we're getting our stock information and background information uh, from S&P for stock data. When it comes to fund and ETF data, we have a data relationship with Morningstar, so that kind of information comes to us from Morningstar. But we don't really have a good source for bonds. We simply allow you to basically put in the current market value of your bond portfolio and the cash portfolio and
Mhm.
use that for diversification analysis.
Excellent. And last question, before I'll let you kind of go on, is I saw some people asking about, kind of setting like trailing stops. I know, with this economy and the volatility that we've been experiencing, people are probably putting a lot of trailing stops on alerts and things. So not that you can put trailing stops exactly, but we do have a pretty advanced alerts area where we can customize it. I know you were going to kind of go into there and kind of show how to set those alerts.
Yeah, that wasn't planned for today. I know in the area of the slide deck, there is a section when it comes to
Mhm.
alerts. Oops, interesting. Um, Sorry. But there is the ability to basically create both um, there
We
is
lose
the
you there, John?
ability,
Sorry about that.
pardon me?
Did we lose?
What was
Oh,
it?
I think there might have been like a lapse in connection, possibly.
Oh, I'm sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yes, you're all good to go.
Can you see me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay, very good. And can you see my slide deck or a screen
We
right now?
can, but it's in a little bit of a smaller, not the presentation mode.
Oh, really? How about, can you see this now or no?
Not right now, not yet.
What do you see at the moment?
Right now, we're looking at the characteristics of companies passing each screen.
I wonder, should
Yeah,
I
we could
stop?
try and then
Oh,
redeploy.
interesting. Let me just, how do I change? Oh, it changed the, how do I, for some reason to change the screen I'm looking at?
Here, let's see. We can try to pause. What I would do is I would go at the very bottom, and where it says share, I would toggle it off and then toggle it back on again. That's
Okay.
usually the easiest. Sorry for the technical difficulties. Appreciate everyone staying with us. Also looking out for questions, so feel free to keep submitting them. We'll try to answer as many questions as possible, and then if we don't
Hopefully,
get to your questions, feel free to email them and we'll answer them. But you can email us at members@aaii.com. And if you put in the subject line or somewhere in the first part of the body that it's a question from the recent webinar, we'll put a higher priority to get those questions answered as quickly as we possibly can.
okay. So yeah, when it comes to your portfolios, you can go ahead and set up alerts, and you can then get every day you can get a alert if a stock changes by a certain grade level or a price level. So you can go ahead and specify. I'm only concerned about looking at momentum grades or valuation grades or earning estimate grades. Only on these portfolios you can go ahead and establish which specific portfolios you want alerts on, establish whether or not if it's a one grade change or multiple grade change or an upgrade or downgrade, and for what criteria. So you can go ahead and get that set up, and then you go ahead and then view that information on a regular basis and get alerts for that. Going back to the screen, so these happens to be all the various screens that we have on here, and we've tried to create these views which display information in a meaningful way. In this case, you're looking at alphabetical view, but perhaps I want to take a look at which screens are doing best this year. So as of the end of March, value on the move was the best performing strategy. It's currently tracked by 442 members. There's 45 stocks that passed that screen currently, and its rate of return this year has been 20.3%. So that gives me some information. Perhaps I want to take a look at its risk characteristics, or how is it done in bear markets. Well, actually, when it comes to bear markets, the best performing strategy has been the O'Shaughnessy Tiny Titans, interestingly enough. For bull markets, the best performing one has been the Wanger Revised. I could look at the year by year information. So things such as that. Perhaps I want to take a look at year by year, get a sense for, okay, the rate of return over 5 years is X, but how does it perform perhaps during a predominantly down year or over the course of time? So I can go ahead and see which ones are the most volatile. The Driehaus screen has been the most volatile. It's almost 2.2 times more volatile than the typical market is concerned, and we see a lot of variation there. Characteristics gives a sense of the companies that currently pass. What do they look like? And perhaps I want to take a look at just the guru screens. I can go ahead and just filter for guru screens, and in this case, perhaps I'm curious to see which ones have the cheapest PE ratio. It's kind of surprising that the Driehaus screen, which is more of a small cap momentum, has the lowest PE ratio in there. So it's kind of fascinating. Perhaps price to book, which ones are cheaper, sales. So I can go ahead and look at the characteristics. Same thing would be with grades. I click on the grades. Perhaps I want to focus on just the factor screens. So the guru screens are those that are based upon a well-known investment analysts and managers and people that have written books and talked about how to screen and analyze information. The factor ones are more commonly known things for analysis, things such as perhaps PE ratio or the PEG ratio, or things that aren't tied to specific gurus. But let's see which ones have the best momentum. So right now, the ADR screen actually has typically the stocks with the best momentum, whereas not surprisingly, the estimates revision up are holding stocks that have the strongest estimate revision grades. So this is a way to look at the characteristics. And we've also pulled over the power rankings, which is a quick way to look at which stocks, all of our various screens, strategies. Perhaps I'm going to take a look at risk adjusted return. And we see that in this case, the O'Shaughnessy Tiny Titan screen has the best risk adjusted return. So even though if it may be more volatile in the market, adjusting for that amount of risk, pushing that return level down, adjusting, compensating for that, has had the best long-term performance. If I want to view all 25 stocks, I can go ahead and click on that, and I can go ahead and view which stocks are currently passing that screen. Again, it's characteristics, get a sense for how its performance has been over time, and this tells me as of the 8th, which are the 25 stocks that currently pass. Now, if you're a plus subscriber or platinum subscriber, I may be curious to know which ones were passing at the end of the year. I can go ahead and go to this calendar feature. Uh, this will now lists for me the stocks in particular that happen to pass this screen back in that year, back at that point in time. And this goes back roughly about a year and a half, I think, as far as being able to go back in time and see specifically which companies passed the screen at a point in time. And for me, it's interesting to see, how this environment has changed. I know we were looking at Charles and I happened to be looking at, I think, the stock market winners screen the other day, and which is one of a good performing strategy, has a good strong. I'm going to sort it alphabetically, I guess. Go ahead and sort it alphabetically. This happens to be a professor that took a look at the same kind of companies that William O'Neill looked at. These are companies that had good, strong performance, and he kind of took a look to see what kind of characteristics they had and how they looked. And it was a little bit similar to what William O'Neill found, but he found some additional characteristics more on the fundamental side. And we were kind of curious to see which companies are passing right now. And I mean, right now, the big thing we saw was there was a ton of banks passing. And we were kind of curious to know if that has been true over time. So we kind of went back and, okay, that's a lot of banks are passing today. What was the case, back at the end of the year? And smaller only, it's interesting, we only had a dozen or 10 or so companies passing, still favoring banks back then. In fact, we have got banks and in this case, two classes of the same stock here. Banks and a consumer, perhaps, I'm guessing Staples company, as far as that's concerned. And if you want to then track this company, you can go ahead and click at the plus sign. You could add that particular stock to one of your portfolios as well. So these are all things that I think it's a very flexible way of getting some ideas and adding these ideas to your portfolios and watching them. So I might go ahead and add that to my mixed asset list. I can go ahead and now track that company over time. So these are, I guess, some of the big new features we've added, and the overall goal is to give you as many tools as possible. So we're trying to make it easier for you to access your holdings through the brokerage linking, but you can still go ahead and manage that manually. We're trying to give you the ability to analyze your holdings through the custom views, and we've added in the stock views. We're now working on adding in mutual fund data for those views, and also we've tried to make the analysis of companies that are passing the AI stock screens more valuable as well. Those are the three big enhancements we've made this quarter. And hopefully that's sparked some interest for you and perhaps even spark some questions for you. So I could talk more about these features, but I could also answer some questions while you guys are listening in our conversation today.
Excellent. And then before we move into some Q&A, I do want to share a bit of information about, because we've got a lot of questions about what is, included with basic, what is, more premium. And then I also want to share a special webinar discount that is exclusive to attendees that we set up. So if you would, first off, if you'd like to subscribe to A+ Investor, we have a special where you can get $50 off a 1-year subscription. So you can try all the new premium features within the AAII Investor Hub. And all you have to do is visit www.aaii.com/A+-webinar. And the regular price is $199, but you can get it for $147. So I will put that in the chat so that you'll have that. That offer is valid through April 30th at midnight Central Time. But I do want to kind of address, the fact that a lot of, every AAII member has access to the Investor Hub. So you can go in there today, use your regular AAII member credentials that you use for the, to access the website. And you can use the same credentials and get access in. If you've created portfolios before we transitioned, all those portfolios should be in there. If you aren't seeing something that you had created, feel free to email us at members@aaii.com, or you can submit a tech support ticket, which is located on the bottom left screen, left of the Investor Hub. We're always happy to help, locate something that you might be in a different spot or that you might not be familiar with yet. And so a lot of those, if you want to look at A plus stock grades, a lot of what John showed was the stock grades, that's an A plus investor feature, or if you're AAII Platinum. And then as John mentioned, if you wanted to view some of those model portfolios, those are also a premium feature that you'd be subscribed to. So hopefully that answers a little bit of the questions. I don't know, John, if you had anything that I left out.
No, I think that covers. I mean, in terms of like model portfolios, obviously all members have access to the model shadow stock portfolio.
Correct. Yeah.
And analysis. The characteristics of the screens. As a member, you get access to the stocks that are currently passing. If you wanted to go back in time and see which ones passed historically, you'd have to be a plus or a platinum subscriber. But we've tried to make the screens accessible as ideas to all of our members.
Exactly.
And I think the other thing, I think Jenna mentioned that, the help and support has the ability to add. But I know one thing that our developers keep asking for, there is this little feedback button here on our hub, and it takes you to the kind of a little survey to answer any questions, or what do you like, what don't you like? So I know they're always looking for us to provide more context as far as what they like, what they don't like, what's helpful, what's not helpful.
Exactly.
So any kind of pain points you might have. So please, if you want us to make some changes or make some development information, please fill out that feedback survey. They'd love to see that and hear that. And that was how a lot of the features we've introduced this quarter came to be. One of the most commonly requested feature was having a quick way to pull in information from your broker to do further analysis, being able to analyze that information through these views. And that's all. We keep rolling in ideas as far as how to make this product faster and hopefully more useful to you.
Exactly. And the only reason I'm going to ask this question is because I think a lot of people may not have seen our January one, and I do think it is a nice feature that people can use. And maybe it's possible that we didn't give it enough time at that point too. We've made a lot of changes in between January when we first launched to now today, but about the web app. So we have ability to I don't know if you can demo it or just show exactly where you can download it. I know I've pinned it on my taskbar for easy access, but it's become
I
pretty
think once
helpful.
it's the first time you download it, I think it shows up. Do you want to download? Thereafter, you have this little open in app feature, and you have the ability to control when it comes to doing analysis within the hub. You have the control. Do you want the answers to pop up in your web browser or pop up in the app itself? So that is something that, in this case, it's asking me, do I want to have typically it go into the web app or use the browser? I'm going to say no, thanks for now. But this is actually an app that's separate from my browser right now. It has the full capability of the um, full web interface, but this happens to be available as a standalone app. I know if you have a phone, you can, and it varies depending upon if it's Android or Apple. I think when it comes to Apple, you kind of have to send it as a link to your homepage. If it's Android, it's a little bit different, but you then have the ability to basically access these features then as a kind of a progressive web app, they call it. A standalone app that works, as a standalone information, but you should be able to do everything that you can do from the web interface as well in this app interface. So it's all available to you either way, whatever's more convenient. Basically, you'll have a little icon that gets loaded onto your desktop, and you can go ahead and click on that and gain access to it. You will have to, of course, log in. like you would in our app, but this is all available to you as an app as well. That's great call out.
It was. And just if you're a member that has that used stock screens on the AAII.com website before the Investor Hub, before we moved everything over, John mentioned that the speed has greatly improved, but also the charts and all of the columns, those are all now mobile optimized. Before, not all of the charts were mobile optimized, so it could be a little funky on the screen. Now those are seamless whenever you adjust your screen. If you wanted to go on a desktop version, or if you're on the mobile app or a tablet, it's a lot easier to view those interactive charts and toggle between the columns of the different data points. So that's also a nice kind of feature that we've improved upon.
Thank you. Yeah, definitely good call out.
Let's see. I think a couple people were questioning about the, can the reports and all of your portfolio and can that be exported to Excel? Is there an easy way to print or export?
Typically speaking, yes. I mean, we've tried to make, whenever you're looking at a view. Let me go to the I guess the Stock Madness screen. You should almost always see an Excel icon or a print icon. In this context, depending upon, it'll download a multi-tab Excel file. This happens to have, I think, these 5 views, but in this context, it'll download that Excel file. And it has that information available to you to look at and analyze. Of course, it's it's downloaded as a web app, so it's giving you the warning. So normally speaking, you're going to see a Excel file link, which then downloads that information. That's true if it's a custom view or standard view, and also if you happen to go to the stock screens area as well. You should also, in that context, see a Excel icon as well. It'll download all that information.
Excellent. And then let's see. We got quite a few questions. It's possible that some people joined a little bit late. So are you able to point out where on the Investor Hub you can connect your brokerage, where it gives you the different options?
Yeah, the best way is always, you can go to portfolios a couple different ways. I always find it easier to just click on the All Portfolios section. The All Portfolios screen gives you kind of a line-by-line view of your portfolios. And we break down portfolios between 2 primary sections currently. We have the brokerage linked portfolios towards the top, and then these are the ones that are custom managed. So you should, in this context, anytime you want to link a portfolio or create a portfolio, look for the new portfolio icon. No matter where it exists, look for the new portfolio icon. You should then get this interface to go ahead and create a new portfolio. And you could do one of 3 ways. You can create a portfolio manually. You can create a comma separated value, a kind of an Excel import, or you could click on link a brokerage account, and that will then start the process. You will have to establish a Plaid account, and then once you have the Plaid account established, you will have to then go ahead and log in separately, because we don't store your login information. Plaid doesn't store your login information. You'll have to log into your broker. And then if you go to your broker, you should then see, I know when I go to like Schwab, for example, it'll list anybody who has gotten any kind of read or write access to your brokerage account, anything that's linked. So you should, in that context, see who the AI is linked to your account. You could break that account link there. You could also simply, once you go ahead and delete, or I guess unlink a portfolio, if I go ahead and decide I don't want to link anymore or save it anymore, at that point in time, I can go ahead and convert that information to a standard manually managed portfolio. I could delete it. But once I hit this option and hit convert and disconnect, we then in effect delete the token. We delete any kind of connection we have with your broker. So if you want to then link it again, you'd have to do a separate manual process of linking it.
That was a good call out actually about the disconnect, the brokerage, and that you could convert it to an AI portfolio. Because I did see a couple questions where some people would like the ability to import, their
Sure.
portfolio, but then also make almost like a watch list where they're
Yeah,
making adjustments to it
that's a great way to do it.
manually. So
Yeah.
that's a good way.
And the thing to note is that with a brokerage linked account, any changes you made to that, if it's still brokerage linked, the next
Mhm.
time you synchronize, it'll pull in whatever you currently have in your broker. So if you want to manage it manually, go ahead and break that link and save it as a portfolio. You can always relink it again separately, but if you want to go ahead and manipulate the holdings, that would be the best. To do your analysis, that'd be the best way to do that.
Excellent. And then as far as another question I kept seeing was about the syncing process. So when you log into the Investor Hub and you go to see, you view all your portfolios that you've linked, do you have to click the sync button at the time of login, or should it be already be synced when you first log in?
My experience is that it's a manual sync.
Okay,
So you want to go ahead and hit that sync button if you've made any changes to the holdings in your brokerage account.
excellent, excellent. And then is there any kind of limitations or anything on that where can you sync it multiple times a day, or is it just more of like a one time you usually sync when you first log in
I believe
at the
it's a
beginning?
once a day sync, is my
Okay,
understanding.
excellent, excellent. And let's see, we're going to take one more question because we're nearing the 2 p.m. time. Let's see. Oh, actually, I did see this pop up a couple times. A lot of people were interested in your stock madness
Oh,
portfolio. Is there any way that we could share that with other people or show how they can also mimic that?
you know, that it's funny you should ask that question because that actually is one of the things we were talking with our developers is how can members share watch lists or share views or share the custom fields.
Mhm.
So that is something that is under development discussion. I guess what I can do is I'll create I'll change the view to the stock madness view as well, and I'm gonna export this as an Excel file. And when Jenna sends out
Mhm.
all of the show notes, we'll be sure to include the Stock Madness Excel file. So if you want, you can go ahead and import those tickers into your portfolio using
I
the
like that.
CSV function.
That's excellent. And, everybody should kind of TBD because we really enjoyed, I think, as a whole, as a team doing the AI stock bracket challenge, stock madness. So we'll probably do something very similar down the road. And hopefully by then we'll be able to kind of, share those types of fun watch lists that we create with the rest of the member base.
Yeah, and
But
right now, be sure to tune in next Wednesday when we announce the winners in our current competition, our current bracket. Right now, we have Apple going up against JP Morgan and Google going up against Coca-Cola. And look at that, Google has really bounced back. Coca-Cola, we thought was the big Cinderella
yes.
story, winning, but right now, at least right now, it happens to be uh, Google and JP Morgan going
Oh
up for the
darn.
championship.
And I know my bracket is long out of the running. I was up on the leaderboard in the very beginning, and soon I got lapsed by some people who are very savvy and have some better insights than I do.
It's fun. It's fun though. But yeah. So what we did is we basically took a look at to come up with our top 16 holdings, our stock madness holdings. We basically analyzed which stocks were held by the majority of our members and just took a look at the top 16 and kind of ranked them. I thought that was kind of a fun way to see. And
It is.
we've gotten a request to perhaps do a Division three bracket next year, which will include
Yes,
not only the large caps but also some of the small caps.
yes, and then World Cup too. I think there's a lot of ideas getting thrown around, so we're very excited. Before we kind of sign off, I have a lot of information to provide, the attendees today. But before we kind of get into that part, do you have any last minute, comments or anything that you want to share with the audience?
No, but I mean, again, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been, very inspirational for us here at the organization to interact with you, to get ideas on how to make these tools more helpful, more useful. And it's we're in the same camp as you. We're trying to basically do the best job we can to make good investment decisions, not to get tied up in the emotions of the market, to make sure that we have a good framework in mind, a good history, good understanding of the stock market, good understanding of how one builds wealth long term. And we're trying to provide the best tools. And thank you so much for the feedback you're giving us for how to make these things more useful and helpful.
Yep, couldn't agree more. And first of all, I just want to say thank you so much, John, for really guiding us through, the new Investor Hub features, that like the brokerage integration, custom data views, all the new stock screen improvements, all the little tips and tricks that you shared as well along the way. I really appreciate you kind of going through that and walking through us, because there's a lot that is available to members now. So it's great to see it kind of come to fruition. So I appreciate that. And then, if you have any questions, we really ran through a lot. So if you want to,
we tried, and hopefully the handout has a little bit more structured presentation. I tried to focus on the highlights of the newest features today, but please, take a look at the webinar we did back in January and the handout as well to get a sense for. And we'll keep doing these. So anytime I think it's a good idea to kind of periodically, perhaps maybe we'll focus in more specifically on one or two features over time, just to get a sense for how best to operate these things. So thank you so much for joining us.
I think that'd be great. And yeah, feel free to email us at members@AAII.com. We obviously know that these are a lot of, new ways to navigate, a lot of, new ways to import your holdings or analyze them or view them, different data points, different column views. So there's a lot that we're kind of throwing at our members. So if, feel free, we're always here to help, to email us and reach out. And especially with that tech support form that John showed, that's the best way, especially if you're not seeing something in regards to data or usage of the platform. And then I just want to kind of talk about, I want to first off recognize some of the key people. I mentioned this in January, who worked on these updates and, built this new, our new platform and all the new features. And those people are behind the scenes. And I do want to recognize them as Ozzy, Mohan, and Robert. Without the dedication of our development team, all of these enhancements, would not be possible. So I do want to do a quick shout out for them. And then, we hope you take some time this week to explore the new, Investor Hub features. Upload your brokerage, go and take a look at some of those custom data points, and use the different AAII analysis tools to take a look at your investments. You can visit the hub at hub.AAII.com and enter your AAII login credentials to start using the new updates. And then lastly, this presentation was recorded and a replay will be available at AAII.com/webinars. And then, as John mentioned, webinar attendees will receive an email with the link to today's recording early next week. And in that email, you'll receive a copy of our presenter slides, as well as links to other resources we discussed, such as the January walkthrough that we did and the webinar walkthrough. And then also I included the Making the Grade. We have a really great article on some of the new features and how to use those. So we'll also include that PDF in that resource email. And with that, we wish all of you viewing good health, good fortune, and a great rest of your day. Thank you so much for joining us today, and take care.
Thank you. Take care.